On October 16th, 1995, footage would be discovered in a duffel bag, belonging to 3 missing young adults. Their last whereabouts were recorded at Black Hill Forest in Maryland, and within that found footage would hold pieces to the mystery of the missing cases of the 3 young students, aspiring filmmakers, who decided to do a piece about an urban legend. The footage that was recorded would put everything that we know of as fact into question, as the 3 young filmmakers pursued an urban legend that seemed to be more true than legend. And the Blair Witch footage that was recorded for that fateful investigation would not only lead to questions about the missing filmmakers, but also launched a subgenre of horror in the movie world, as 1999's Blair Witch Project, directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, would engrave how to make a found footage horror movie perfectly. And today, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching, we will be talking about the scariest found footage horror movies. Before we fully jump in, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, it's good to see you again. Alright, let's get into it. Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. I'm one of the most manliest men of all men, and you know that because I said it into a microphone. Alright, so with that being said, I don't get scared easily, but this movie scared me. Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum is one of the most scarier horror movies out there. And I've noticed in the Korean market of horror movies, that's usually the case. Released in 2018 and directed by Jung Bum-sik, the found footage aspect comes from the main characters, as they're all streamers. God bless those hard workers.
Content creation is harder than your 9 to 5.
And these streamers go into a haunted asylum, and they live stream the whole thing. And can you guess what happens when they went into a haunted asylum? Nothing. It's just like real life, besides like maybe finding a homeless person and definitely some tweakers who at first they're like hi, and then they start screaming at you and it's like, hey man, I thought we were cool. But yeah, so they find ghosts though, and that's pretty much the storyline. Pretty bare bone, and yeah, it's fair. It's not anything original. It's not gonna blow your head off with its ingenuity. And so I'm gonna give you some of the flaws right away. Specifically for me, the story was just kind of like meh. And I think that just because of the runtime, like this premise could have been much shorter. The acting is pretty basic too as well. It's like their characters and well, I mean no shit, they're characters, but their characteristics, like one guy's like always scared. One lady's like, oh, I'm pretty. Don't touch me, you demon. Things like that where you can kind of tell like the writing and directing, not the best. With that being said, I think it is a fun and scary horror movie, and those are always needed in the horror genre. It's also a movie where you have to suspend your disbelief just a little. I think that's most found footage horror movies. Only a couple of them do it well, where it's like, why are you still recording if there's a witch bending you like a pretzel? In that case, it's definitely true in Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. As you may think to yourself, like, why are you guys still streaming? You can definitely get out of here. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's actually more realistic for streamers just to stay in somewhere where it's dangerous for them to get more content. The movie having some good scares is not the only thing that I like about it. What makes the found footage fun is if any of you guys have seen Ghost Adventures with Ryan and Shane over at Watcher or BuzzFeed, then you might know how they have all those cameras set up, like one's looking at their face, one's looking forward. It's all this cool looking ghost found footage, but with that, obviously it's really crisp. To me, I compare that
Hey, Baba Ganoush, what's up?
How's it going?
to Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. It's pretty much Ghost Adventures, but with actual ghosts. And that's fun to me, man. You don't think it's fun? You don't think it's fun? Also, I mentioned earlier that some of the characters just seem like characteristics and just stereotypes. And that's a con to a certain degree. I kind of picture this movie as like pretending to be an American horror movie. And I think them being more characteristics is more fun. Because you see that a lot in American horror movies, especially found footage movies, where they're just mainly focused on making something look cool and scary rather than the characters. And all throughout the South Korean horror movie, it feels like there's a lot of American influence. Now, yes, this might just be me being like, oh, America, imperialism. But it feels like this movie is highly influenced by American movies. And not to a degree where it's like a parody or anything, but rather their spin on it. I used to explore when I was a young child, and just imagining like if a real ghost or entity showed up, that'd be awesome. Also, the haunted asylum is actually real. That's right, hauntings exist, and I just broke the news on it. Give me my Nobel Peace Prize, and watch what I'll do with it. Cho, or Incantation. Incantation is a cult horror mystery movie that follows Buddhist folk horror in Southeast Asia. The 2020 Netflix movie, directed by Kevin Ko, follows a mother, Lee Ronan, who has been cursed after breaking a religious taboo that invites a supernatural entity to just meddle into her life. And meddle, I guess, is an oversimplification because bad things happen. However, Ronan, being a good mother, does everything she possibly can to make sure that the self-inflicted curse does not reach her daughter. And the movie's style is a documentary found footage of Lee as she does her best to either buy her daughter time or completely exclude her from the curse. There's also a side plot that's not really found footage, but that doesn't work with my narrative with the video. But to me, the found footage plot is where it shines. And there's two things I want to point out right off the bat. This found footage movie, compared to a lot of other found footage movie, is extremely crisp. I appreciate that, because I understand like older VHS, like 90s looking cameras, that's cool looking, but if every horror movie that's found footage does that, it kind of gets played out. Also, if you didn't know, in horror, when they blur something out or make something harder to see, it's usually to benefit the audience, because whatever you're thinking the monster is going to be scarier than whatever they can show. And that's why you see so many monsters in such dark lighting, because it helps with your imagination. Whenever a horror movie is very crisp and will just be like, yeah, we're going to show you the monster. What do you think this is? Playtime, bitch? Nuh-uh. Be scared. I think that's why I like Smile so much, because they would just straight up put that monster in front of a giant stadium of people. Granted, like, they couldn't technically see it, but still, that's sick that we got to see what it looks like. Anyway, that's to say that Incantation uses its high definition well. It does do shaky cam, which with found footage, like, you're gonna get that no matter what. And I agree that it can be a bit nauseating at times. Hell, there's some movies where I just have to turn them off because I'm like, alright, that's enough. But with this movie, it's really not too bad, especially with how crisp it is. They want you to see what they're showing you. And speaking of seeing what they show you, I gotta give a little heads up for anyone who's like religious or like believes in curses or anything like that. And like if I said like, oh, I'm gonna put a hex on you, like you would actually believe it if I did like weird witchcraft stuff. Skip this part. And also, do not watch this movie. You will not like the end. Now, if you're gonna skip, I can spoil it for you. But if you're not gonna skip, there's a lot of like timesheets on here. Just choose whatever is best for you, or stay, because this is gonna be a spoiler alert. Okay, so at the end of Incantation, everyone gets cursed. That means me, you, anyone who watches the movie, they get cursed, and it's fucking awesome. With Lee's attempts to make sure the curse doesn't affect her daughter, she curses everyone else. The documentary style footage has a twist at the end, which makes it such a good movie, as the whole reason Ronan was filming herself and doing this was specifically to curse us. That's not to say she's a bad person. She didn't do it maliciously, she did it for her daughter. All throughout the movie, we can see that if anyone knows about the entity that has the power of this curse, known as Mother Buddha, and they don't do certain precautions, even if they do, sometimes it doesn't matter, they will get got in horrible ways. And all throughout the movie, symbolism of Mother Buddha's statue has been referenced, and at the end of the movie, it shows Mother Buddha's face, which heads up for everyone, if you're trypophobic, if you don't like little honeycombs and circles like that, if that really bothers you, do not watch this movie, and skip this part again too.
What is your name?
But at the end of the movie, it's revealed that Mother Buddha's face is just a giant void of bloody honeycombs, it looks like. And the only reason we see that is because we are cursed with it, all in an attempt to make sure Ronan's daughter isn't cursed. And if you're mad at Ronan, there's really nothing you can do. Mentioned earlier, the movie follows Ronan as she tries her best to exclude her daughter from the curse, doing extremely weird actions that some could deem neglectful to her daughter, the one that she's trying so hard to protect. And that kind of brings in the subplot, but again, that's not what I'm focused on. The movie is such a good piece about parenthood, more specifically motherhood, and what they would do for their daughter or son. And us, the audience, roots for her. We have a lot of questions all throughout the movie that Ronan herself is the one explaining to us, which is a bit ironic. The movie riddens you with anxiety throughout, incorporating the use of found footage perfectly. Not too much shaky cam, incorporating it into the story with the twist at the end. Also, a personal thing, there's only like one jump scare in the movie. That's awesome. Jump scares can be good, usually bad, and this movie just exudes confidence because it's like, yeah, we don't need to be like, rah, to scare you. We can do it without that cheap shit. But to truly let you know why this movie is probably my second favorite found footage horror movie, you know, besides good old Bertha over there, is the end. The weird religious rules that have been placed into this world regarding an entity, Mother Buddha, are set in stone as we hear about all these catastrophic events and see some of them when you break her rules. And so much was built on not only the reveal of Mother Buddha, but the mystery on how not only to stop it, but why Ronan was involved in the first place, falls into place in such an amazing way. That way is by revealing that the whole movie was just a document trying to curse us, the viewer. The whole time we were rooting for someone who's trying to get us killed. Sure, it was for her daughter, but man, she planned the whole time on anyone who uses the movie would be her victim, as she asked the audience to recite some words that can dampen the curse, especially because so many people will recite them, and then finally showing us Mother Buddha's face. Found footage is so enticing because of the way it can incorporate the audience. And the twist of the movie cursing us is something I don't think I've ever seen before in horror. If you have, let me know, because I really like this. If this brief synopsis got you interested, and by synopsis I mean like the glaze,
I'm gonna come.
the movie's on Netflix, or on a pirate ship. As Above, So Below. As Above, So Below is a 2014 found footage horror adventure that follows an archaeologist that follows a rock lady and her friends in search of the Sorcerer's Stone, which leads them to venture into the catacombs under Paris. The movie, directed by John Eric Dowdle, dives into mankind's battles with their demons. Not only with spooky, scary ones, but also demons within. They're talking to me again. The movie's strength lies within its horrors of claustrophobic space, supernatural and psychological horror, as well as its blend of an immersive experience and terrifying mythology. As the group goes further into the catacombs, the feeling of them being trespassers starts to exude, so much so that I kind of felt like I was trespassing when I was just watching it, which is a nod at how good As Above, So Below does its found footage. So many times you see found footage movies where it's just so obvious that someone had a camera, like an iPhone, and they're like, I bet I can make something spooky. Go hide behind that tree real quick. However, something more scary than the guy behind the tree, well, depending on who that guy is messing with the dead in catacombs, underground, where no one can hear you. And luckily for the group of explorers, that's just what they do. The movie definitely suffers from the shaky cam problems so many other found footage movies deal with, but it's another one on this list where I don't think it's too bad. At least to the point where it takes you out of the movie. And also, I want a character to run, so if it starts shaking because they're running, I get it. But if it's just shaking because like they're breathing heavy,
I'm sorry. Can you stop breathing so loud, honey? He's like...
come on. I think As Above, So Below should definitely be considered as one of the better found footage horror movies. My favorite part is how the movie blends the immersive feeling with real life history and mythology just to make it scary. And by real life, I mean like influence. I love whenever mythology gets turned into something horrifying. And I said earlier that the movie felt like a fun adventure because when I was a youngling, my old friends and I would always go into the sewer systems, and we didn't go like through the manholes. That's gross. No, we went in like the drain pipes. So if it rained, we would have definitely died. But it didn't. It rained like once, and we did have to run. But it wasn't too bad. It just got up to like our knees. This movie reminds me of those adventures. And the fun thing about venturing out as a young kid, especially at like teenage age, is we were always like, something in here is gonna get us. Ratma is gonna get us. Unfortunately, the scariest thing in the sewer systems was just all the fucking spiders. We went in one time, like very, very deep in to where we couldn't see the light. I don't know why, but I just looked up and the whole ceiling was just spiders. And they did not seem happy with the light because when the light shined, I was wearing a low headlight. When it shined on them, they just scattered on the sides. And mind you, the tunnels that we were in were about as big as like this. I could do this and they were about like this tall. So like there's this much room to spiders. Thousands of them. I'm terrified of them, but my friend was even more terrified of them, so I tried to be like, we should probably leave. I probably didn't say it too confidently. He also probably saw me just... he looked up and he screamed and I've never seen that man run that fast in my life. That whole rambling is me saying I can relate to this movie because I used to venture out in places I wasn't supposed to be. And always in the back of my mind, in a fun way, I would think something spooky's down here. And then I grew up and I was like, oh, people are really bad. I could have gotten napped. But As Above, So Below takes that idea and actually puts something scary in there that's not a pet. If you haven't seen As Above, So Below, I highly recommend it. Also, it has Jonah in it, which is weird because the last time I saw him, he was getting a machete in his face. It's good to see that he bounced back. Fucking laugh.
You should have never come here.
The Sacrament. Are you trying to join a cult? Let me know. You should watch The Sacrament from 2013. A found footage horror movie based and influenced by the Jonestown cult. And based and influenced feels like understating it, but I'll get into that in a second. The film was directed by Ty West. A couple of journalists travel into a tight-knit community, Eden Parish. And the journalists go because they're following a chap whose sister got indoctrinated and became part of said community. Once the group discover and implement themselves into the community, they realize how much power and abuse the leader holds over everyone. That leader known as Father. And in so, they begin to understand that they probably bit off a bit more than they could chew. The film dives into cult dynamics, like religious extremism, a charismatic leader, indoctrination, and the dangers of blind faith, all while building tension, albeit with a good amount of flat parts, but tension to lead to a brutal ending. I said that I like cult stuff, like window shopping, I swear. So I'll give some of the cons out right away, because even I can acknowledge them. The movie definitely feels a bit padded out. Like at times it drags on, and the audience already gets the message of the scene. We get the point. We don't need to hear them keep talking. And that does happen a couple of times. The characters themselves are pretty flat. They're not really well-rounded at all. I never really rooted for them. I just kind of was there for the ride. I'm like, oh, these guys are probably gonna die. And I've been saying it throughout this whole video, but that shaky cam problem that most found footage movies fall under, this movie definitely suffers from. And finally, the final nitpick is the ending is very, very bleak. I'm okay with things like that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. But to anyone who wants to leave with a bright note on the end of a movie, don't watch this one. And finally, the biggest problem I had with The Sacrament, as well as a lot of other audience members, is that the movie was quite literally just what happened at Jonestown. It would exaggerate some things, but not really. The movie is so obviously based on the People's Temples that it should have just straight up been a movie about the People's Temples instead of Eden Parish. And if you don't know what the People's Temple was, the People's Temples was a religious organization founded by Jim Jones, a very charismatic but also brutal leader.
You're not able to see me clearly.
It did what so many other cults did. Recruit desperate people with nice, happy masks, and then slowly indoctrinate them into violence and abuse. All while telling them that that's what's supposed to happen. Usually in control of ways through religion, and especially the power dynamic. And throughout the cult's livelihood, the FBI were notified about it and were investigating it because of claims of abuse. As well as reaching the climax of the cult taking people's lives, notably Congressman Leo Ryan, who was investigating the claims of abuse, as well as killing people who were trying to leave the People's Temple. And finally, what most people know the People's Temple for, besides Jim Jones, is the mass drink the Kool-Aid. That was this guy. And what makes it so scary, besides just like the cult being a cult, is the recordings of said cult. Especially when Jim Jones was telling his whole congregation,
Die with a degree of dignity. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony.
Is one of the scarier events in human history. Oh, but what about shut up. Over 900 people died in the mass suicide. And those audio tapes that just left such a haunting legacy of the cult, they are used in The Sacrament. Which is why I truly think this movie should have just been a People's Temple movie. Like if you're gonna tell a story pretty much verbatim, just tell that original story. And I said that there are some moments in The Sacrament that have some leeway on what actually happened with Jim Jones and his cult. It's still pretty obvious who this is based on. Anyway, I like this movie because it does explore the nuances of cult activity. And the found footage makes it feel like you are there watching everything firsthand as it accelerates into violence. And the disturbing part about it is it mirrors so much of what happened at the People's Temple. If you've seen The Sacrament and you agree with me that the movie just should have been about Jonestown, then let me know. And if you haven't seen it, then if you're into found footage, cults, and horror, you'll probably like it. If you're more of a casual enjoyer, go watch Incantation. Or watch The Blair Witch if you haven't. Like, geez, what are you doing, man?
Hello, my name is Peach Fuzz. I might look like I eat you up. But I'm as friendly as a rabbit.
Now, an honorable mention is a movie called Creep. The reason for its honorable mention is it's not really scary or disturbing, but it is fun. The 2014 horror comedy, directed by Patrick Rice, as well as starring himself in it, plus other lead actor, and the biggest highlight of the movie, Mark Duplass, as our other main character. And it follows the two, Patrick playing a filmmaker who takes up an online ad to film a weird man's day. That weird man is Mark Duplass. The man supposedly wants to make a movie for his child. Supposedly. But throughout the day, Joseph, this odd chap, does weirder and creepier things, as well as pretty funny things. And I think it's only funny because I am at my home and I'm not recording it.
Are you just trying to scare me? Or... Okay, well, I'm terrified, okay?
The found footage movie just follows Joseph as he goes throughout his day, making Patrick more uncomfortable every waking hour. He also has some murderous tendencies, it looks like. The humor is deadpan humor, and it is so funny, all while creating an uneasy atmosphere. And it has a fun twist at the end that incorporates the found footage. In a subgenre of horror that feels a bit played out, Creep offers something new. If y'all have ever seen Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, that follows a group of filmmakers documenting an upcoming serial killer as he kills.
There's that whole thing of making it look like you're walking, and everybody else is running their asses off.
Oh, right.
Then I gotta stay with them.
Creep is a lot like that, but much more low-key. Which Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon is also an honorable mention, but it stops being found footage like halfway through it, so I figured not to add it. But both these movies aren't so much scary, but they're definitely fun. And even if it's not scary, it's not a bad thing. You know what is a bad thing? Not liking this video. Unless you didn't like it, then yeah, use your free will. Yet if you did enjoy the video and enjoyed it so much that you think about subscribing, make sure you hit that button before you head out. Most of my videos are about scary stuff. If you have any other found footage horror movies that you think should have made this list, then let me know down below. But yeah, I think that's enough talking for this week. I'll see you next week. Bye. I made Jello shots this morning, and it's like 9 a.m. right now.